I do remember the delicious veal stew she made one time. I was much older. Maybe I was even in college then. And she used, and of course things changed because once Daddy started working, food and everything wasn't, or lack of food wasn't a problem. But we didn't just feel free to go and
when things were tight, what was the staple diet? Do you remember?
I just remember hating everything. I'm so lucky that I didn't have a child like me to bring up. I never would have let it live.
Did she bake? Did she make pies or anything like that?
Yeah, but not in the really worst days of the Depression, no.
Right.
But afterwards, yes, afterwards she would make a wonderful lemon meringue pie, and she was a very good cook. But at the time, all the time we lived in that great big monster house, which had to be cleaned, and that's maybe one of the reasons why I'm such a terrible housekeeper, is because we could never do anything until we'd cleaned the house. And that, it was a vast house, it was huge. And just the first and second floors essentially had to be cleaned, bathrooms scrubbed, things like that. Mother had very high standards, because from a number of years they'd had a lot of servants who did all of that stuff. So everything was really polished and shipshape. But having to dry mop and vacuum, we got a vacuum once, and I remember telling my friend, it was very, very exciting, because before then we just had dry mops and brooms and things. And when we got a vacuum, I told my friend Joycey White, who lived up the street, and her nurse was there, because most of my friends had nannies or nurses or Fräuleins or mademoiselles or whatever to take care of them. And I said how excited it was to have a vacuum, and of course, that was really not very cool of me to have admitted. Anyway, where was I?
You were talking about the food that your mother made that you liked.
Yeah, well, at one point, no, she was a good cook. But at the same time that she was cooking, and now I'm jumping ahead, and I'm not really doing it, but there was the laundry room. Again, it's sort of a dark, dreary thing, but it did have a window in it. My father never wore a shirt more than one day, and I don't know if you've ever ironed a man's shirt, but they happen to be just the worst things in the world to iron. They really are terrible. And Mother ironed his shirts always for him, and he never wore a shirt 2 days in a row, ever. And she would be down in this dreary, dreadful laundry room, hot summer day, ironing away. She ironed our sheets, which they've been used to having ironed sheets. It was really kind of incredible. She was...
And just to have an idea about this home classroom, it was first grade to 8th grade, and there were 20 kids, and how did that work? Because obviously
I think a lot of them grew up with me. So I don't think there were so many little ones.
Right. So they were kind of
so they all started at my age and then sort of grew up. And 20 probably was absolutely the largest. Maybe 50
Right.
was more likely. The largest would have been about 15, I think.
And she would teach math, English, history.
Oh, yeah. Put on plays.
Music.
She was just incredible. Really incredible. Plus, go off and do all these other things for which she had to be prepared. She didn't just go and do it. No, she was totally fantastic. And when I think of of what she did, I have no idea in the world how she possibly could. And I certainly didn't have, any particular appreciation of what life must have been like for her, because it must have been hell. Always worried financially, and then not having fun, not having the luxury of going to theater, which she loved,
Right.
or opera, or concerts, or socializing. Very, for many years, none of that. And then as the years went on, there would be, we lived for many years in Belhaven, and even up in the Robinson house, that all social life, and particularly summer life in Greenwich, took place in country clubs. And in Belhaven, we had the Belhaven Beach Club, which had a swimming pool and the whole thing around the beach, and then it had the tennis courts, and then it had a beautiful clubhouse and dance floor and stuff like that. And of course, in the beginning, my parents had belonged to that, and then of course there was no way on the face of the earth they could belong, but there was no place to go swimming or to play tennis. And there was in the town, a town public beach. You had to take a ferry boat to get out to an island. And I remember going there once, maybe I was 5 or 6, and getting such an incredible sunburn that I had bubbles, this big orange bubbles, like this all over my back. I had such a terrible sunburn. But I think I only went there, maybe that might have been the only time I went there. We didn't have a place to go swimming or anything, because there was the field club up in another part of town. There was the Greenwich Country Club, there was the Round Hill Club, Belhaven Beach Club.
And not many people had swimming pools in there.
Not too many, hardly any. The Skakels actually had swimming pool, tennis court, horses, because Greenwich was such a snobby place that they weren't allowed in, and they weren't members of any of the clubs. Mrs. Skakel weighed 250 pounds and had dyed peroxide hair, and she was actually quite a wonderful and very funny, big, loud woman. And Mr. Skakel, I think, had made his money in coal mines in Michigan or something like that. Not quite acceptable socially in Greenwich. So they made their own fun, and it was wonderful, wonderful fun at their house. But they were never members of any of the clubs. That's so shameful.
Right.
And of course, if you had one drop of Jewish blood in you, you couldn't belong to any club.
Your mother was a real disciplinarian, but did she have a good sense of humor? Do you remember, like, during school, did she ever joke or make any...
Yeah, she did have a good sense of humor, and she had a huge zest for life. I'm really, if I've said this before, I'm really sorry I don't believe in heaven, because I have really, God, it's taken me to get to probably my 80s to realize, or to think about even, what an incredible woman she was, and how hard her life must have been. Really, really, really hard.
And her parents had passed away, and she was looking after her siblings for some time?
Her mother died before December of her freshman year at Smith. And so she took time off and went back to be with her father and all her younger siblings. Then she went back to Smith, and I don't know if her father was alive when she graduated from Smith in 1916. I really don't know. Because...
Did they lose the house when he passed away? Or?
Oh, I don't know anything about that. I have no idea what happened to the house. One son had